on investment deals and peace efforts.
This will be President Trump's longest foreign trip of his second term so far, a 5-day swing through Asia with stops in Malaysia, Japan, and South Korea. The president's long-haul flight took off last night and won't land in the region until late tonight. His schedule is packed with key trade meetings with world leaders as he looks to finalize deals and shore up new investments. But his biggest test is a face-to-face meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping amid their ongoing trade war.
Fox's Rebecca Castor in Washington. The government shutdown heading into another week with no end in sight as Republicans and Democrats remain at odds over a funding measure. Here's Fox's Kristen Goodwin.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries demanding House Republicans return to Washington to negotiate on a bipartisan spending measure to reopen the government.
We need House Republicans to come back to Washington, D.C. End your 4-week vacation. Enough already.
The House GOP is on recess since passing their clean bill to keep the government open through November 21st. But the measure has failed repeatedly in the Senate, with Democrats stressing they won't support a bill that does not include extensions for Affordable Care Act tax credits set to expire at the end of the year. Republicans say they will negotiate on health care after the government reopens. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
The U.S. military is sending an aircraft carrier to the waters off South America. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth deploying the USS Gerald R. Ford and its strike group. The U.S. has conducted 10 airstrikes on vessels in the area as part of what it says is a war on drug traffickers. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. Welcome to the Financial Show. And that show is Winning at Life. The financial show of the South. My opinion, anyhow. Kind of goes that way since it's my show. We've been bringing this to you for 15 years. We've got kind of what's going on today is we have Dwayne Stein with us this hour. You know him from the Mortgage Gumbo show and kind of all thing mortgages. So we'll have a discussion with him today about interest rates, about mortgages, the take on real estate, and just see where things are going out there, because that's one of your biggest decisions that you make in your life. For most people, it is their largest investment and gives them that solid foundation, I'll take. And maybe we'll even get into maybe how you should be looking at that decision as a part of your life there. But it's a unique opportunity we all get to have a stake in a property that grows in value over time. And now that's not an absolute, but if you make good decisions with it, it should work out that way. I am Gregory Ricks, your host. By the way, for new people joining the show today, we bring the show to you every Saturday and have been doing so for more than 15 years at this time. I'm CEO founder of Gregory Ricks Associates, the Total Wealth Authority, advisors, and retirement strategies. We help people with their money. We help people with their retirement planning. We help people with financial situations. We both give guidance and advice. Here on the radio show, technically, we're here giving you guidance and direction to help you make better decisions. And if you're looking to get more in-depth help beyond the radio show, we have offices in the New Orleans area. It's in Metairie, Louisiana, Mandeville, Louisiana, and Gulfport, Mississippi. But with Zoom, video, and such, we do work with families across the United States. If you're looking to reach out to the office or get a conversation started, there are kind of two easy ways to do so, but I'm going to give you three. Email is info@gregoryricks.com, and if you've got questions during the show, shoot over an email. Also, if you're looking to start that conversation and work with an advisor, so once again, you can utilize the email address. The office is 504-832-9200 to start that conversation, and the website is gregoryricksandassociates.com. So hopefully we've got a little bit of setup there for you and something to think about on today's show. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on our great guest, Dwayne Stein of mortgagegumbo.com fame. Hey, Dwayne, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, Gregory. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Awesome.
Always.
Well, thank you, my friend. We've been doing this together for a long time.
Over a dozen years. So you brought me from clipping my wings to allowing me to fall out of the nest, picking me back up and going, all right, you can do better than that. Let's keep it going here and go from there. And I definitely appreciate it, no doubt.
I know. It makes me happy. It makes me feel good about that and us working together over the years and the success that you've had with that, becoming a great go-to show as well as a great go-to firm and helping people with, for most people, it is one of their biggest decisions of buying a piece of real estate. And then there's this other big decision for very high percentage, and you can come back and tell me, no, you're wrong about that, Gregory. Most people are taking on their largest debt.
Without a doubt.
And it is a huge commitment. But it's kind of one of the neat things I talked about when you were last on is that opportunity that we have is we get to, if you're, most other things you finance, cars and whatever, are shorter term debt. But the mortgage on a home, it's like you get to stretch it out for darn near ever, like 30 years.
Yep.
And so you get a lot of time. And yeah, then if you go do the math on the interest over the 30, yeah, it's a lot of interest. But what you have, if this goes well and you've made good decisions and you do things that keep the value up along the way, that's going to be more value than you would have spent on the mortgage. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it. And, I tell everybody it's kind of a joke when we're sitting at the closing. I'm like, ignore that big number, that amortized number, right? You're buying a house for $250. Don't look at that 400-something thousand, right? Because at the end of the day, we're going to show you how to pay that off quicker. But nobody right now is doing forever loans either, right? So it's right now we're sort of and we're still in the process. Even as rates are going down, we're leasing rates right now. How do we lease this rate? How do we get into this house for as cheap as possible? Use it, take advantage of it, let the home work for us, and then we start looking at, all right, hey, how do we get into our forever loan down the road? And for some folks, what we're seeing right now, Gregory, in some refinances that we're doing right now, some 15-year opportunities are presenting themselves. And they did, and this is where, Gregory, and this working with your clients, it is when we have conversations with our clients, it's what is the plan, right? What ideally. Now, as I've learned from listening to you, and you should, trademark this, life happens, right? And learning that and hearing you talk about that at so many different presentations and understanding, but how do we prepare for that life happens, right? With part of your GPS system and everything that you do. Well, on my end, we're trying to find out what are those things. So that way, when it comes to refinancing, it's not just okay, lower my rate. What is the purpose? And what we're seeing right now is We've been able to take some folks who bought over the last couple years, maybe sold a home in 2020, right? Bought, got into that forever home, but we said, hey, look, let's get into the house. Let's let it start working for you. And then when the rates get better, we'll do that forever loan. And now we're starting to see, as the rates go down a little bit here, we're starting to see some opportunities with that, where maybe a 15-year is the right thing to do if it's your forever loan, right, on this refinance. So those are the things, and having those conversations and making sure that everybody's not just a blue box or just the same check mark. We've got to make sure that we're finding out what's important and what are your needs and goals so I can line those up for times like now. Right? You've navigated these choppy waters over the last couple years. You went and bought that house at 7.5, 7 3/4. Okay, now what? Right? And that's where we go back to what the plan was that we had in place, and we see, okay, is there value? And some right now, Gregory, in Winning at Life Nation, some conversation we're having, we're going, hey, we're getting close, but we're not there yet. Right? So, and that's why everybody is different, depending on the loan, depending on the situation, and making sure that we're doing what's right by you. So, it's important, and but it is exciting times. I could tell you, probably hear my voice. You know, it's a little bit. It's nice to be able to have some conversations and see the rates trending for a while now in the direction we want, for sure.
Well, I'm going to come back to the interest rates and the inflation number that we saw yesterday and how that's impacted. But I want to circle back one more thought on the forever loan, because you kind of can do that. Yeah. Because you could do a 30-year mortgage, but at some point, what if people can refinance? And that, it's not like there's a rule when you think about it. It's not a rule to say, oh, no, you got to pay this off first before you can redo it. That's right. And just as long as you can qualify, now you could not qualify to refinance, right? But that doesn't disrupt the one you already have in place, or it doesn't get called. Oh, you're kind of slow on your Visa bills. We're going to call your loan. So that doesn't happen, but it might not allow them to get a sweet redo and re-extend that out. Even look, you get 20 years in, you kind of say, you know what, I'd kind of like to take this balance and spread it out over another 30 years. And you can. That is what's so neat about that. And you've got a property that should be growing in value. So you kind of, depending on what's going on in your life and your situation, that's a piece of equity that gives you a lot of opportunities to refinance down the road, pull money out to do something, like could even be to buy more real estate and other things, or to make improvements to that property and increase its value. Your thoughts on the forever concept?
Yeah. Your spot. They're not making more land, Gregory. Right? So they're not going, hey, off the coast. They're they're putting down another. They're going to create another state. We got too many people. Right? So we're going to add a bunch of land here off between Florida and the Gulf of America, and we're going to throw in a 52nd state or whatever it's going to be. So that's why having this, you're able to control and use it as an asset however you need to. So when you're looking at that forever home, and that was the thing that, when you have these presentations, that's always the question I ask. Raise your hand if you're in your forever home, right? Number one, or is this your forever loan? And a lot of times people aren't sure. So those are the questions we want to have, because that's what we want to work towards. But again, we understand life happens, but you're spot on. Just, owning a home and, hey, life happens and you got a little hiccup here or there, that home's still fine. Take care of that. Make sure that you're doing what you need to do to keep that roof over your head. And in that way, when an opportunity presents itself, then, we can take advantage of it. And look, it's been, we've said it. And the one thing I love about being on your show and my show, we don't shy away, right? We embrace it, saying, yeah, we wish rates were lower, right? But it's not the end-all, be-all. And how do we make it work? How do we take advantage of it? Maybe we use a different loan program that we wouldn't have used in 2019. because it makes sense now. Now do we transition to something else? That's why it's so important, Winning at Life Nation, to understand you got to work with somebody that has your best interest at heart. I get phone calls all the time. Hey, should I refinance? Should I do? I could sit here, oh, yeah, okay, and sell them into why they should refinance to save $45 a month. But that's not the right thing to do. So let's look at this next move. Is this the forever loan that we're working towards, right? Or if we're not sure, what is that amount of savings that you need? And some people go, well, Gregory, I get all the time. How do I know the right amount? Listen, I work with school teachers all the time that make the same amount of money. One wants a $500,000 house. One wants an $80,000 double wide, right? Everybody is different. So let's find out what your needs are. It's not what my needs are. My job's to provide options. It's let's find out what your needs are and work towards that goal and getting you into that forever loan.
Good stuff there. So let's shift to interest rates.
Yeah.
Now, we saw the inflation number came in at 3%. They're expecting 3.1%. So that was good news.
It was.
Because one of the worries is because there might be inflation pressure still. So they were expecting that to be a little bit more, but that was a good trend that it came in under that number. So how did interest rates respond to that at all?
Here's what I could tell you what rates did. It's sort of, and I don't want to say stop the bleeding, but you had so much going on with tariffs and all this stuff, and Trump's gone talk to Xi and all these things that rates were getting a little, I don't want to say sideways, but because they're still as good as they've been, but, we get greedy and we want them to keep going in the right direction. Well, what yesterday's information told us was it said, hey, okay, we think this is under control, and it helped rates really sort of balance out and get back to, and where water was maybe getting a little bit choppy, it kind of thinned everything out. So very, very good. We needed that. And that's where the unfortunate part, Greg, right now, for us on the mortgage side, where the government shutdown is affecting us, and you and I understand this, we need data, right? Our industry works off of data, not headlines. And when you don't have data, all you have is headlines. And so that's where right now we need the data coming out, right? We need to see labor reports, job reports, all these things that we're not getting right now that I think would be where it would continue to help the trend be our friend, and we're not getting that. So that's why when this report came out yesterday, it was viewed as a positive, right? And I think it also helps us when the Fed meets next week to look at, okay, hey, we're going to throw another quarter cut on the Fed funds rate, which is a good thing, so to speak, which is going to not necessarily affect mortgage rates, but it's going to help everybody as a whole. And so that's what we've got to look at, Gregory. And I think rates would be lower right now. This is just my opinion. You've got a lot of folks who are, those CDs are coming due, right? A lot of that money, and a lot of folks, you could see the stock market going up and portfolios and all that. So whereas people aren't necessarily getting into those T-bills anymore, those treasury bills to help out those yields, right? That go to safety that it used to be. That's why I think you see gold and everything. People are looking at some other options with this, but at the end of the day, people know that mortgage-backed securities are going to be safe, and that's why I think you're going to continue to see these yields go down over time. And it's exciting. I mean, look, we got Gregory, 30-year right now is at 6.19. 6.19.
Gosh, where was it a year ago?
It was right at 6, but this is last year. If you remember, we were in the same boat last year. Then we got a good jobs report, and that's when everything went to heck in a handbasket, so to speak, and started to go up. So that's where if you compare year-over-year trends, it's a little bit different. Like,
okay, so similar to last year,
yeah,
but this is a trend of moving down versus
correct.
What happened last year. It started moving up.
Exactly correct. Right, based on data coming out. That's exactly correct.
Yeah. So the outlook is, just kind of throwing it out there, we'll probably see it get under 6 in 2026.
I think by the end of the year, I think we'll be. You'll hear me, and I'm hoping next time I'm on your show, next month, where we're going, hey, we're right at that number, right? And that's exciting. And this is why. So what does that affect, right? Well, it's huge in the fact of it's bringing in competition, and we're seeing it already where people are going out making offers, and they are truly in a multi-offer situation, right? It's not Greg competing with Dwayne to buy Dwayne's house. Now it's Greg, Sue, Jeff, Billy competing to buy Dwayne's house. So that's why, again, I get back to these headlines, Gregory. When, they came out, the existing home sales this week, they came out in the headlines, home prices are falling. No, the median home price went down a little bit to $415,000, but that's the median. That's not taking into account appreciation. So that's the average of all homes sold. So that just means folks, maybe due to affordability, bought a little bit of a cheaper home. But what we're seeing now is, and I could tell you this too, Gregory, all these appraisals are coming back higher than what list price is. So there's room in there. And that's why you and I have been talking about this. When things start coming down, we talk about everybody's going to kind of wake up, shake off the cobwebs, do their stretch, right? And go, let's jump into this rat race. And, this competition, it's going to be good for home sellers and home buyers as well, because home buyers are going to feel more confident, right? Because they feel like they're getting a better deal than when that person was buying at 7.25. But this is where that brave home buyer over the last 2.5 years, this is where they're going to start reaping their benefits too, because that neighbor's now selling their house, and they're selling it for more than that person at 7.25, 7.5 bought it for. Right? So when they're refinancing, they're just building that equity. And them being brave, they're seeing the benefits of it right now.
Do you think there's pent up demand on refinancing?
Absolutely. And it's because, Gregory, people have been, from a refinance standpoint, nickel and dime to death, so to speak. Right? Whether it's gas, eggs, meat, anything, the cost of everything. So with credit cards, throw in now, hey, I've got to pay my student loans. So we're seeing it. And what we're able to do for folks is now they're able to take advantage of that equity in their home, right? They're able to go, hey, I need to do it. I've got a client this week, refinancing, $1,800 a month we're saving them, right? So I mean that's life-changing is not even doing it justice, right? So, and but I've got plenty of them that are $250, $300, $400 a month, and it's, I think the refinance I have started to see in my phone, and going to snapsendandsave.com, I have started to see the refinance, lots of phone calls on that, and we're reviewing those and trying to see if it makes sense, and, at what place will it make sense if it doesn't now, and what are we looking at? Without a doubt, though.
Kind of thinking about why does refinance happen? Sometimes just because they're having to solve other expensive debt.
Correct.
People get themselves in trouble with those revolving lines of credit, and I understand that. Long time ago, I had a good bit of that, but I had an awakening and a rethinking and a restructuring, and got away from that to where I don't ever do that. I get annoyed if I see a fee of interest rate on my credit card. What? Did I pay it late or something? Or did I not get it in on time for that to be zeroed out? It happens occasionally, but it's a rarity because I want that to be zero. It's like I'm getting over on the credit card companies, but that's one reason refis are happening, because people got a lot of debt and they need to solve it because it's just so expensive. What's those rates? Probably 30%, 20 plus.
The average, right? The median rate right now on credit cards is over 23%. So that means there's a lot of folks out there with 30 plus.
So they're able to go and get out of that, make life better, clear that off, and hopefully
come see us. Let us put you in a 6.5%, 6.5% rate and get rid of that debt. And now that's where all these gigantic savings are coming in. I mean, a $2,000 credit card, I'm seeing for some people is on some of these notes, Gregory, their median middle payment is, on $2,000 is $175 to $300 a month. I mean, that is a tremendous amount on that balance, right? When I get into these $10,000 and $15,000, we're seeing $700-800 a month. That is because, and what's happened, Gregory, on a lot of these credit cards as well, is maybe somebody missed a payment, right? So, hey, all bets are off at that point, right? You go from you're 18% to 36%. Don't ask any questions. You better be lucky we don't cut you off type of deal.
Yeah, I just popped an AI question here. Average credit card balance by age group. The baby boomers, its average is $67, almost $6,800. Gen X, get this, $9,600. Millennials, $6,900. And you were giving an example of a couple grand. So I was you're probably seeing on average larger numbers than that. That's kind of got people jammed up to where they're paying. I don't know what that number is based on what you're telling me. They could be paying darn near $800, $900 a month.
Oh, in total, yeah. And that's on minimum payments, Gregory, right? Like that's not, I'm going to pay some extra. That's the minimum. That's just to keep it from not going up. That's to, hey, here's some floaties. Go play in the kids' end, right? And to keep your head above water. So that's what I'm saying. Those are the minimum payments. And as you go down that list from your millennials and all that stuff, Gregory, what's not showing on there is the exorbitant amount on any of those is what we've talked about so much, which just continues to just be a gnat around the ankles, is the buy now, pay later stuff.
Yes.
And so, that doesn't show up, so to speak, when you ask ChatGPT that, right? It doesn't go, well, Gen Xers, 9,000, but, they're trying to keep up with the Joneses, and they got X amount.
Yeah, I agree. There is pent up demand, and you're going to start seeing probably more business in that area because of tough times, and people have built up credit card balances trying to keep up, to use that. That's their emergency money because that's been depleted. And then, when people can't work or get their check or lose their job, they lean on that, and that's where the opportunity for this forever loan concept, or having this property that gives you the ability to go and refinance and reset things. And it's cool opportunity that we have in this country, and that's you as well can help people to do that. The average credit card balance is a range of $6,000 to $7,300. Alaska has the highest average debt of over $7,600. Wisconsin, the lowest. In our region, that means somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So that is really something. Well, we got the music. We're going to take a short break. I've got a couple other questions for Dwayne when we come back, and I'm going to give you things you need to avoid in this process as well. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We'll be right back.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
The program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts, probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet? Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to gregoryricks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks Associates, the total wealth authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC, and Gregory Ricks Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, or you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
We are living in historic times, extraordinary times. A lot of people need help right now, and I want you to remember your local food bank. Now here in New Orleans, it's Second Harvest Food Bank. Over in Mobile, they've got Feeding the Gulf. But you can find your local food bank, feedingamerica.org. Food donations, monetary donations, or I know you've got some free time. Find your local food bank. Support your local food bank, especially in times like this. Do some good. feedingamerica.org.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Finish your high school diploma for you and your family. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Fox News, I'm Jane Fergus. President Trump is on his way to Asia for a 5-day trip that will include a meeting with Japan's new Prime Minister, Sonai Takaichi.
We have a great relationship with Japan, and we're going to have a fantastic relationship with her. So we'll see what happens.
The two countries have a tentative deal where Japan would invest billions of dollars into the U.S. in exchange for a lower tariff rate. Zohran Mamdani is still leading in the polls in the New York City mayoral race. Today, Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa addressed calls for him to drop out to give former Governor Andrew Cuomo a boost.
I came very close to Zohran, a lot closer than Cuomo. So he should drop out because all he's been is an impediment.
Current New York City Mayor Eric Adams has endorsed Cuomo. America's listening to Fox News.
You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Thanks for joining us today. If you want more information about me and the show, go to gregoryricksandassociates.com. One of the great resources there is our blog. Lots of information on that. Just a tremendous resources and more about me, about the firm, our services to help you with your money, saving, investing, and even that phase of turning on income. It's just a tremendous amount of resources at that website. And of course, if you are needing some help, There's a chat box on the website. You can email us info@gregoryricks.com or call the office 504-832-9200. And there's no better time than now to get started. You know, one of the common things is, yeah, I should have came in earlier. I should have got started. You know, I've just been busy. I've been wanting to come in, and not for days or weeks or months. People say, well, you know, I've just been meaning to do this for a few years. One of the things of reason to use an advisor is to have a sounding board. But one of the reasons to start now is actually you start to build that connection. And it doesn't mean, well, you know, I'd like to get started, but I'm not ready. We'll do the part of the get started. Make that connection. Maybe have that first meeting to see your comfort level and fit and kind of put out there what's on your mind. And then you can ask, how does this look going forward? What would be the next steps? And of course, you're not going to be under any pressure. Nobody's going to be pushy. But instead of, well, I've been meaning to get started. You know, I've been wanting to do this for a while. That's a common thought. And let's help you with that by, let's start the process. You're not going to be rushed through, but you can have us doing those nudges on those other sides as well and checking in with you as well. I've got Dwayne Stein here. We had him in the first hour of this show, host of Mortgage Gumbo from mortgage.com fame. Do you have people on your end need those kind of nudges? Well, you know, I've been meaning to call you. I've just been busy, hadn't got started. Do you hear that?
Yeah, you know, and exactly what you said is the conversations I have all the time is, well, I don't think I could afford it, or I don't have enough down payment, or my credit doesn't allow me to qualify. Well, how do you know, right? Let's have a conversation. Let's get an application. Let's look at a picture. Well, I don't want to put in an application because, you know, I don't want to ding my credit. Well, the way we get through that is we do a soft pull for you initially. So there is no credit inquiry for us to look at it. So we can look under the hood, so to speak, and see, right, exactly what but how do we know? And so many times, Gregory, and I know you see this as well, is they're pleasantly surprised once we have a conversation because there's so much data out there. And it's not that it's a bad thing, you know, but so much of it is clickbait. So much of it is headlines. And so people start to follow these trends or maybe what they want to hear, not what they need to hear. So it creates this false narrative, and that's why I think so many times once I have a conversation with somebody, I go, let's take a look. We're able to make it happen, right? That person who's been turned down because, well, my credit's not, I don't qualify. Well, you come over to me and I have a program where we don't judge you by your credit. Or maybe we've got a program where, you know, no credit's necessary, right? There's different things out there that folks get kind of wrangled into this belief of it's easy to go not now or find that reason. And I think that's where, like you said, let's just have that conversation. Let's nudge. Let's do what we need to do. And like you, one of the things I do is, okay, if it's not today or you don't qualify today, here's how, or here's why you don't, and here's how we can get you where we need to be. I never just go, hey, nope, sorry, wish you the best. Thanks for the call. Right? Like, oh, sorry. Oh, gosh. Yeah, Joe Blow at the bank, spot on, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you're right. No shot at a home ownership. No, it's let's look at this. Let's figure it out. What are our options? What do we have to work with today? And then go from there. And sometimes that answer is, hey, we can't, but I'll always go, here's what we need to do. And then I'll follow up. And sometimes people are like, hey, I'm on it. And some are like, look, just a situation I'm in. It's not, hey, okay. When you're ready, let me know. But I think that's what's important. It's just, let's find out. Let's see if it makes sense.
Yeah, here's my phrase, and it's kind of my marching orders to the team is find a way to help. You could have somebody, for example, we had a Social Security educational event this week, and a lot of people show up for those, so to speak. Sure. And we can't help everybody there, but we do find ways to help them all. And one of those that had a discussion about is people that come in to get the fundamentals of social security, but they don't have much saved for retirement. So they're going to be very dependent upon that. They're behind. Well, there's no better time to start saving than now. You don't need to come in for a meeting on that if you're wanting to start Social Security, yet you're worried because you don't have money saved. So a couple of core things, always give them to help them. And I can do that in a group setting. If you don't have much saved, you're not going to have enough for retirement. You're going to run out of money at some point. So what's important, think about, and I think I've got 4 thoughts here on that, is you're going to need to put off starting Social Security. You're going to need to keep working as long as you can. You've got to start saving now. You're probably going to have to pick up a side gig, side job, and so that you can save money if you can't from the income from your job. Maybe it's just paying your cost of living and so forth. Well, that side job is going to be your savings money, and you've got to start that putting away. And once again, you need to defer Social Security being turned on as long as possible up to age 70. At age 70, yes, you have to turn it on at that point because you're not gaining any more deferral credits by waiting. And so that's where we can help them right now with that information. And I'm sure you're giving guidance as well on mortgage situations. Here's kind of what you need to do now. And that way enables them to do some things that gets them in position to buy a home, borrow money to buy a home, or the refinance situation.
100%. And, it'd be like, and this is what I try to explain to folks when they call and go, what are your rates? And, hey, should I refinance? My rate's this. Well, I don't know. It'd be like me calling your office going, when can I retire? Right? Like, we've got to know, what do we have to work with? Right? So we got to, before we put this puzzle together, we got to take all the pieces out the box, right? And those are the things that is so important to understand. But chances are there's an opportunity. But like you're saying, if there's not right now, let's find out right now what needs to be done versus, okay, hey, I'll just keep waiting, or I'm not sure, or woe is me, or you know what, I got to sign another lease on November 1st, so, I'm in a lease for another year. Okay, that's fine. So let's find out now what we can work towards. So next year when we're having it, I'm not going anywhere, right? This is a marathon, not a sprint for me, right? I'm the lenders that made it through all this stuff. So let's find out what we've got to do for you so next year we don't have to renew that lease ever again. And those are the things, like you said, but let's find out now, right? And not, okay, sorry. And then, hey, Dwayne, I talked to you last October, and I wanted to review and see. We've got to see what those changes are.
Well, I hear the music, so it looks like we're going to take a short break right here. We're going to finish up. I've got a list of pros and cons and a couple other questions for Dwayne. We're going to jam it into this last segment. This is Winning at Life. We'll be right back.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I started my retirement about 5 years ago, and I truly am late in life.
Would I be better to just withdraw the money out of my TSP and pay that mortgage off?
My problem is I have champagne taste in a beer sour. What is a balloon note?
Is that cutting it too close?
So will I still be eligible for Medicare?
Is there anything better I can do with the money I transferred into the Roth from my 401k? My goal is to retire at age 60. I'm 54 right now.
Hey, I have a 9-year-old son, and he's got probably $2,500 in. Is there anything we can invest it in?
And I just started a 401k a little late in life.
Then I should be like 10%.
Now, how far in advance do you recommend that someone goes to visit the Social Security office?
I won some money in a casino playing poker.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Oh, Rover, you have fleas again? Prevent fleas and ticks from setting up shop in your backyard. Those bloodsuckers can bite up to 400 times a day and carry nasty diseases like typhus and tapeworms. Give Rover some relief and contact Mosquito Joe. Their mosquito control services also kill and prevent fleas and ticks. Let Mosquito Joe be your first line of defense against those blood-sucking pests. New Orleans.mosquitojoe.com. New Orleans.mosquitojoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I'm your host, Gregory Ricks, a financial advisor here to answer your questions and help you win with your money.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Simple information from good people.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
At the core, I always tell people, I'm not here to make you rich. I'm here to make sure you don't run out of money, that you don't run out of income. That's how I look at my job. Over time, saving, making good decisions can make you rich. But what you have is, what is your core thing? Your core thing should be making money. And your core thing, you should set aside money to work elsewhere. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to put it to risk. You could put it to safety. But your core thing makes you money, or you tell me your core thing is the market, day trading, or gambling in the market. It shouldn't be. You should have a core thing that makes you money, and you peel some off for the future when you're done with your core.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. We've got Dwayne Stein on with us, so let's jump back into it with Dwayne. We're talking kind of all things mortgages. Been a bunch of great content for you. I have a question here for you. I'm gonna toss it. A lot of this stuff I just throw at Dwayne. He's that good. We didn't have a conversation beforehand. He'll just take what's coming at him. Here's a question: impact of losing a spouse. Impact of that regarding your mortgage, because most families, most couples, they're both on the paper. So they lose a spouse, they might have 10, 15 years still left on that. They might have refinanced late in working life and kind of said this will make things easier in retirement, and they lose one of them. Things happen. What is the impact of that?
Yeah, I mean, it could. Fortunately, I don't run into this that often or rarely, so that's a good thing. But it's like anything in life, right? I mean, if you lose that paycheck, right? If you lose that income source, I mean, that's from a loan standpoint. I mean, personally, you lose your soulmate and all that stuff. But, I mean, it could have tremendous impact, right? And, so it all depends on, when that happens.
You're kind of impacting it by saying, some income was lost, could affect their ability
to repay,
to pay it. But they've also lost that income. If they were planning to do a refi, that's it does alter their situation. But let me throw it this way. if they're able to keep making their payments and the income doesn't take a big impact, but they've lost their spouse, there's two on a mortgage. That mortgage isn't being called. The mortgage company's not like upset.
No.
Fred died or Ginger died.
No, not at all. I mean, we're not, as a servicer, we're not hanging out in the obituaries, reading those, and for every loan we do in every state, going, all right, hey, call Joe. Sally went down, right? We need to see what's up if they're going to be able to pay, right? That's a life-changing event. Sometimes they'll contact me, and then I will get them with the servicer to make aware of and go, all right, what are our situations? Even more so, Gregory, than death, it's the same impact with a divorce, right? A divorce is, now, hey, I've got to refinance this, or I've got to buy out my X because of this or that. It's sort of the same thing, right? Okay, well, what do we qualify for? What do we need to look at? Where are we at? Have they been paying this mortgage for 20 years? Someone passes away, do we need to refinance it right now so they could figure things out to lower the payment by $400 or $500 or $1,000, whatever it is, so they could get finances in order, right? Whatever we got to do to help keep that roof over the head is what we're going to try to do.
Yeah, but as far as a death of a person, status quo can continue unless they're not able to make payments and such, and that's kind of leading to a disruption. I can see on the divorce side, one of them's, probably wanting to keep the property, hypothetically, but yes. The other one's kind of like wanting their credit freed up so they can go and buy a place.
Yeah, and a lot of times one of them don't want the other one to fly the coop, so the other one's going to go, well, you know what, I'm not willing to sign this unless, I get this, and this, right? Like,
leverage. Yeah.
Right. Joe and Sue are not seeing eye to eye. They're both on the title. So Joe can want to move on, but unless Sue's willing to sign off to sell the house, it's not happening, right? So there's lots of different things like that we see a lot. And to be honest with you, a lot more over the last couple years. I've become an expert in this area just simply because of the stress of finances, right? So there's been a lot of unfortunate due to just overall stress of financial situations where this has come up quite a bit.
Yeah, on Investopedia here, I'm going to kind of talk real quick about some cons, and then we'll get into pros of refinancing. But cons is you'll have to pay closing costs again. Number 2, it takes time to research lenders and loans. Number 3, your credit score will likely take a hit, and you might take on more debt or have a higher monthly payment. Any thoughts?
Again, Wikipedia should call me, right? Because I'm not doing many refinances.
Well, this wasn't Wikipedia. It's Investopedia.
Okay. Investopedia, I'm sorry. So I'm not doing many refinances now where it's like, hey, congratulations, I was able to raise your payment by $600. Credit score wise, if you're doing a cash out refinance or something like that, a lot of time credit scores go up because what are we doing? We're paying off those credit cards that are at max usage right now. So we bring those down to 0, right? So credit scores usually will go up there. So, I mean, I get what they're saying. And 99.9% of refinances, the beautiful thing about a refinance that separates it from a purchase, when you're buying a house, you're establishing escrows, you're establishing all these things. You're coming in with down payment money, right? Now that you own that home, that house is working for you, you're using the equity in that home to pay your closing costs, your escrows have been established, so you're not having to come in with lump sums of taxes and insurances.
Well,
so most of the time there's no out-of-pocket expenses on a refi.
Yeah. So let me throw the pros out here then. There's more pros than we had the negatives, but we needed to cover the negative side.
Yep,
pros explain you could pay less in interest rate on the loan. Number two, your monthly premium could be lower, kind of things you're saying. You could get a shorter term. Hey, I want to pay it off sooner. Let me refi. I don't know that you have to do that to pay it off sooner, just saying. You can avoid private mortgage insurance. You could change mortgage products. And then you could cash out some of your equity as a reason. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Yep. So a lot of what we're seeing right now on some of my buyers are closed one yesterday. Took them from a 30-year. They bought a year and a half ago, so they had 28 and a half years left. Closed a year and a half ago, came in, used their equity and used their money that they initially put down 5%, knowing we had a plan, refinanced yesterday, put them on a 15-year note, and showed them how to pay the loan off in 9 years, right? So that's one of the things there. So did we raise the payment? Sure. But what we did was by using the money, right, on paper, we were able to make it work where they're going to save tens of thousands in interest, okay? From another standpoint is what we've got to look at, Gregory, is what is the goal, right? That's going to be the biggest question is what do we want to accomplish out of this? Right? Are we wanting to refinance because your neighbor's refinancing? Or what are we trying to do? Are we trying to free up debt? Do you have a big event coming up? Right? Do you have, maybe a kid getting married, college, something else going on where you need those funds? So it just depends on as a whole. But the big thing is in all of this is you've got to make sure that you're working with somebody that has your best interest at hand, who's not just, taking you where you're going to put a stamp from one lender to another lender just despite doing it. It's got to make sense. But can we, maybe like you said, changing products? We're doing a lot of that right now, right? Maybe we get off of a FHA loan that we did because the rate was cheaper, and now we're using that money that we told you to save over the last year and a half and putting you in a conventional loan. Right, where we don't have PMI, or we buy out the mortgage insurance, which will save you money. So lots of different options out there. You just got to work with someone who is going to be able to not just educate you, but also let you see what all those options are and not just go, here's what you need to do, right? Let's go over the whys. But most importantly, what is your situation?
That's pretty good. What is your situation in particular? A lot of great information right there. Here's a thought, and I just want to share this, and we're not on board, and we don't agree with this, and you going and doing a refinance to take money out of your home to go put into investments. And if somebody's trying to talk you into that, whether it's Bitcoin or whatever grand scheme or plan, or even just to do stocks, that you don't need to put your home, the equity in your home, at risk with investing. And you really should question anybody in any situation saying, hey, just go borrow some money out of your home. This is going to make you a lot of money. It's probably going to go bad for you. We're not on board with that. Your thought? We've got about a minute left.
Greg, I agree with you 100%, right? It's almost like heaven forbid, whatever happened to the old adage, if I don't have the money for it, I can't afford it, right? So, because, and I explain this to folks, and this is why, and we're still having conversations, Gregory, with people today. When I get off air with you, I'm going to have conversations with folks that we're talking to, helping them understand that no loan that even that they're taking out today to purchase a home is their forever loan, right? So how do we have these because if you go put 20% in today and life happens in 6 months from now, the only way you get all that money back is you've got to pay to get your own money back. Tell me what to do with my hard-earned money, then I can. Right? So we don't want to put you in a box where you got to pay to get your own money back.
How do they reach you?
Very simple. Go to mortgagegumbo.com.
Thank you, Dwayne. It's been a great hour with you as always. We'll
appreciate you.
See you again in a few weeks. This is Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We'll be right back.
News Talk 99.5 WRNO FM, New Orleans, comes from the Mortgage Gumbo Studios.
Your locally trusted home loan lender, MortgageGumbo.com.
Busy agenda. I'm Paul Stevens, Fox News. President Trump on his way to Asia for the first time this term, a trip where he's expected to work on some investment issues, peace efforts, and have a face-to-face meeting with China's president.
This will be President Trump's longest foreign trip of his second term so far, a 5-day swing through Asia with stops in Malaysia, Japan, and South Korea. The president's long-haul flight took off last night and won't land in the region until late tonight. His schedule is packed with key trade meetings with world leaders as he looks to finalize deals and shore up new investments. But his biggest test is a face-to-face meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping amid their ongoing trade war.
Fox's Rebecca Castor in Washington. The government shutdown, meantime, heads into another week with no end in sight.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries demanding House Republicans return to Washington to negotiate on a bipartisan spending measure to reopen the government.
We need House Republicans to come back to Washington, D.C. End your 4-week vacation. Enough already.
The House GOP is on recess since passing their clean bill to keep the government open through November 21st. But the measure has failed repeatedly in the Senate, with Democrats stressing they won't support a bill that does not include extensions for Affordable Care Act tax credits set to expire at the end of the year. Republicans say they will negotiate on health care after the government reopens. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth sending the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier and its carrier strike group to the waters off of South America. This part of a military campaign against alleged drug traffickers. The U.S. conducting at least 10 airstrikes so far on vessels suspected to be piloted and used by those drug traffickers. America is listening to Fox News.
Welcome to Winning at Life. Oh, with Gregory Ricks. I am your host, Gregory Ricks. You know the voice. I get that comment on that all the time. Yeah, it's unique. I start talking and people know who I am. There's a gentleman I was having a look at some farm equipment that I have, and he was looking at the tractor, and there was some problems with it and stuff. And so we were kind of talking. He says, you sound like this fella I listened to on the radio show. He comes on a show on the coast, and, I've been listening to that for years. Do you know who I'm talking about? And I start laughing, and I said, yeah, I do know who you're talking about. I'm that guy. Yeah, it is you. So see what the voice does? Unique thing where that slow southern drawl, I guess, would be maybe one definition of it. I appreciate you being a fan of the show, all my regular listeners that tune in, and we work hard to keep this going for you and hope to do it for years to come. I ultimately don't control that, but when I started doing this show some over 15 years ago, that's one reason it was a really big decision, and I had declined it initially. Just full disclosure to you, I was like, I don't know about doing a live show on Saturdays. And knowing how I think about things, if I go forward, I'm probably going to be doing this for a long time. And that's why I just had a tough time with that decision. And then Scott out of Miami came up, and with others, they convinced me that it would be very worthwhile for me to do a live radio show going forward. And it turns out, yeah, I was going to be doing it for a long time, and I've been here over 15 years. The impact is it has impacted my life positively, and so many families, and those families, I mean clients that we're able to help, and those that we don't directly help because we give this information over the show. And we've got recorded shows on YouTube, and my team of people we're working hard to reset our podcast, would be accurate, right, Chris? Yeah. So, and Chris is one of the new hires on my board here, and he's working on updating the podcast that we're going to do. We're going to revamp the show some going forward, and why we want this to kind of, in one way I'll say it's modernization of the show going forward, and looking at presenting usable content for you to digest from the show as well. So we're working on a number of things, because when we started the show, the concept of it, which would go back 16 years, we were just going on, it was going to be a live radio show, and it started on one station. Then it expanded to, for a period of years there, I was on, I don't know how many stations. It may have been as many as 30 stations across the South, and it's reached beyond that. And then the internet changed things to where our show was being listened to in Europe, and then it expanded to a weeknight show, the Daily Wrap, as well. So that decision of me, gosh, should I do this? Do I want to do this? Am I capable of it? I even had to hire a radio coach to help me. Like, I've never done this before. And you can kind of see how it expanded. And I've also allowed it to shrink back down as well, to kind of be a core of my region. But with that said, because of the internet, we have this reach through iHeart across the country and some of the streaming platforms. And you can even watch the show right now by going to my Facebook page on Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks Facebook page. The firm's Facebook page is Gregory Ricks and Associates, and my personal page as well. So just see what technology has done. In one sense, we may be not on so many stations, but our reach is even larger because of what technology has done. So I don't know what the future holds, but I think we could expand our reach with what we're going to try on updating our podcast that we're trying to get to weekly. And I think that's what my team's pushing me towards, but we're going to reset and reset that 1 hour podcast, and there'll be more information coming out about that's done during the week, and you'll get to hear some of that work. Kind of say, well, it doesn't work for me on weekday afternoons. Well, it's going to be on a replay, and you're going to be able to stream and download it, but we're also going to feed some of that to you on the Saturday show as well, so it helps with content for that. So I'm excited about all those things. If you are, and if you've got, as a listener, if you've got some requests, some wishes, some things you would be interested in hearing, I'm asking for your input as well, and let's go to, here's the email. You ready? And look, this, if you're looking for help too, info@gregoryricks.com. The office number is 504-832-9200. And you can use those two resources if you are wanting to start a conversation to get some help. Enough about me and what's going on. I've got Jude Heath in studio of J. Heath and Company, CPAs. Welcome to the show, Jude. How are you?
We're doing great, Gregory. Thank you.
Awesome. So what's new these days? I know in your business there's always something. The big, beautiful bill made a bunch of changes on things. There's impacts on Social Security, and some of it is to help reduce tax liability. One thing that they didn't do that I wish I was hoping they would in that bill, and I get why, but they've never adjusted the tax brackets on Social Security once they implemented Social Security subject to income levels would become taxable. Now they give just basically a deduction for retirees, so to speak, and you can expand upon that. But I would like to have seen that to be readjusted for inflation, and maybe recent inflation, not over the 30 or so years since they started taxing it, but have it inflation adjusted going forward. We didn't get that. And one of the reasons I think they're really dependent upon, like, well, if we go and do that, you know how they have to balance the budget 10 years out, so to speak. They have to account for spending and revenues. So we're not getting to a balanced budget anytime soon that I can see with the way spending goes, but I digress. But they need the taxes on that, and if they were to give that up, or a big chunk, they've got to find it somewhere else. So that's probably why that didn't happen, but maybe that is something that they can fix in the future, because what I think is probably most people pay tax on their Social Security income. Yeah, I see your face right there, and there's those that are watching our live stream right now on Facebook and YouTube. They're like, yeah, he knows what he's talking about. Okay, for the listeners, tell me what that expression said.
So I was just thinking, you don't want to live on. If you didn't pay tax, so the numbers are so small. If you didn't pay tax,
that's not much income.
Yeah, you don't want to go there. So I tell my clients, don't. That's not the kind of planning we're talking about. The kind of planning we're talking about is you having enough wealth in your retirement, and yes, you're going to pay taxes. I know there's a tax credit now starting in 2026 that'll offset a little bit of it. And yeah, my immediate thought as I was listening to you, Gregory, is that almost every conversation I have with those that are approaching retirement, even now late 40s, but definitely 50s and 60s, is, well, we really got to play the brackets and plan for those Roth conversions if we possibly can, because if what you said, and a lot of the listeners might have missed it, but so impactful, what you said is we're not balancing the budget anytime soon. And so what I tell my clients that want to leave something to their kids is plan for the pre-Reagan rates, plan for the much higher tax rates for your children, for your grandchildren. Try to do a Roth conversion so that you can leave that. You still have to pull it out in 10 years, but you get that 10 years after death on tax paid 20 or 30 years ago. And that's almost as good as it's going to get right now for the people that you love.
Wow. That is good stuff. And you got me at Roth for sure, because I love me some Roth conversions. And I think that is part of retirement planning. It's important because money, just fundamentally, money goes further if you're not having to give a piece of it to the government for taxes. So any income or distributions you take from a Roth account, you keep 100% of. Now, if you don't need it and defer it with compounding, that could be some serious leave behind money. And everybody may not know the rules. So let's dig into this Roth stuff for a while. I love that you brought this up because, I love compounding money and we don't, now there's some pain with it. Let's say you haven't contributed a lot to Roth and your Roth might be small, or you don't have any. Whereas most money pre-tax out there. I've got an article that's being published with the Advocate this weekend, and we're talking about retirement income being taxed and the tax money, the pre-tax and tax deferred or untaxed or tax-free, kind of three categories there. I gave you 4 or 5, but Roth is important, and people may have small or none on that. Like, how do I get there? Well, there's a little bit of pain to doing that. To do a conversion, you've got to pay taxes on that conversion. We used to could undo it if we changed our mind at tax time, but you can't undo that. So it's really important that you understand the tax bill that's coming. But as far as tax planning, you don't have to Roth all of it. You can just I like bites at a time. Just same way you eat an elephant. It's one bite at a time. Well, I have a lot of qualified money. How do I convert that? It could be a little bit at a time. It could be that leftover margin in your tax bracket. But I always, the story I like to tell. What if you did 3 conversions of a combined 100,000 over 3 years, and let's say that gets you to age 60, just making simple math, and let's say hypothetically average 7.2% return. So that money's going to double every 10 years if you hypothetically average that. So that 100,000 in 10 years could go to 200,000. In 20 years, that 200,000 goes to 400,000. I'll stop there. You see where I'm going with that. This can turn out to be a bunch of money. And you've got 400,000. Is any of it taxable going forward?
No, the growth is tax-free. So.
Yeah, the growth is tax-free. How much of it was taxed? Just that first
just
100.
The 100.
Just the 100,000. So 10 more years at 400,000 go to 800,000. Here's the problem with qualified money when you die and leave it, and your spouse has already passed. You're the last to die in the couple, so there's no spouse Benny. So if it's going to no spouse Benny, it means it has to be qualified money. We're not talking about the Roth. Qualified money has to be distributed by the 10th year of death. And if they're post RMD, meaning they died past RMD age, required minimum distributions, got to be careful with the acronym so people understand what we're talking about, is they have to take required minimum distributions, and the account has to be emptied out by the 10th year anniversary of death. So it's important. Otherwise, there's penalties then. But if it's a Roth, do they?
No, you can leave it all the way in.
Yeah, you can let it all percolate and double up again, so that 800,000 then becomes, what's the math on that? $1.6 million. Wow. And all we did was start with 100,000, a little bit.
Let's say you were in the 20% bracket wise. On that $100,000 at most, you paid $28,000 in tax.
Yeah, and you spread it over a few years to do it.
Your children get $1.6 million at the end of the 10 years past your death. That almost seems like
manna from heaven. Yeah, what a gift to leave behind. And that's where we always take a look in our planning. And I'll kind of define it simply put, what's the purpose of your money going forward? And we're building a plan. I always kind of like, how I think about things is 5, 10, 15 years out. I'm kind of going to look, okay, where are we at overall asset-wise? What's that look in the plan at 15 years out? And then I go back and look at 10 and 5, make sure it's progressing forward. Then I'm going to want to go out there on the back end of life. And we kind of have an idea of where that is from an age standpoint, but I'd like to look out there somewhere from age 85 to 95, see what the assets are looking like. And it doesn't mean you have more, you might have less. We also need money built up to where we can spend it on the back end of life for health care needs. I'll kind of say we got to have some money we can burn through because of health situations. And I'd be a nice way to put it. It's better to say we may have to spend some of it on the back end. But with that said, what might be left behind when you die? So I can take that money and then I bring that back present. How much is that in present money, and where is it? And how can we purpose, knowing the end game, how can we purpose that block now so that that's a multiple on the back end for what we don't know, or leaving more behind? Or can we Or is that the block that we need to do Roth conversions on to leave a pile of tax-free money? You see, that's a part of having somebody critically think through your retirement and always keeping an eye on these things, and having a tax man like you and your firm of great people looking at those things and looking for efficiencies and deductions, and we'll look if we structure this or maybe set up that entity for that business person. Help me with that a little bit.
So, what I was just thinking about as you were going through that, so you as a fiduciary know this. Somebody comes in, somebody sits across, somebody gets on a Zoom call. Our immediate thought, mind is, what is the desire of this person? How can we help them achieve their desire? It's for their benefit. And so we walk them through what we know, how, given the current tax landscape. In our case, for you, it's a financial planning. Given the current financial planning landscape, what we know right now that can help you best achieve your goals, if it's providing for your children, maybe setting up for your grandchildren, just making sure that your kids and your grandkids have a good chance at winning at life, as the show says. And so I feel like we really do a lot of good, even for folks that just talk to us just to get ideas. But we do a lot of good for the clients that come on board and stay with us through the years, and we keep checking on those things, and we remember their goals, and we keep reminding of, are they headed in the right direction? Because as you know, sometimes life steps off to the side a little bit, and you might need a little bit of health money or something like that. But we're there with them. We walk in step. It's a partnership, and they call us all the time, making sure that they're stepping in the right direction. It's really a good thing. And you started the segment of the show off, and I see you getting misty about it. You started the segment of the show off talking about how it's done as much good for you as it's done for your firm to just be in that good work of helping people. It's a little angelic, and so congrats again to you.
Thank you. Yeah, the core mission I put out to the entire team is find a way to help. We might not can fix it. We might not can always solve it, but we can find a way to help to get you on that path there. And, for a lot of people, understanding what they're needing to do to get back on the path to have prosperity is having those conversations there. And it isn't that they've got to be under pressure to spend money or have to become a client or do this or do that, but it's kind of have those conversations. And it's easier because we are a successful firm, so we're not like under pressure to get people to do things or talk them in to do things. It should just flow and naturally work out. And if they want to go another direction, that is okay too. So one of the things I'll define, and I learned this a long time ago, is what do I seek? I seek the truth. And that's really what I think customers are seeking too. I think that's what you seek. Is I just don't want to hear something. I just want the truth. Tell me what's going on, where we're at. I don't want a surprise later. So sometimes when you're having to help people, it's not necessarily good news, but it is the truth, but it kind of resets them to go forward.
But it's exactly as you said. You talked about prosperity, and my immediate thing when I thought of that was, I get so much, when I bring up prosperity, I'm kind of like you. I'm a glass half full person. So when I bring up prosperity, I get a lot of despair, and it's really not for that. Prosperity's out there. We can all go do something good and make a difference, and our prosperity improves. And so I think your firm does a great job of that, of seeing the light, seeing the glimmer, seeing the silver lining, turning people in the right direction. We certainly do it as from a tax perspective, and of course we have lots of financial conversations. And you're right, we can't help everybody, but we can always improve the situation.
That is awesome. So great topic, Roth conversions and other tax strategies. What, just before we go to break here, we've got about 4 minutes before the break. What are some common other tax ideas that you see that are real useful? That's kind of like the Roth and some other things that you find that kind of like people like, oh, I didn't know that. Some things they should be doing.
So you might know this. I mean, for single members, I love solo Ks. I love looking for windfalls. Yeah, I had a client come in. He was late on October the 15th. One of the reasons why I was late is because he does air condition, which is a great business to be in, and he got a $50,000 windfall this year. And I said, man, I really want to bank that next time you get that, man. We got to put something away for you and the missus. And so he noted, well noted, and maybe he'll be a little bit earlier the next time. But we're looking for windfalls. We're looking for a way to put that in play for you and your family down the road. And so, but there's a trust issue there. They got to trust us. We got to no talk, work it through, and they have to know that we have their best benefit. And so, with all the tax strategies that we have, and of course we've digested the big beautiful bill now, and the energy stuff is past us with September the 30th, and people have bought their trucks or whatever they're going to do, and we'll go on from there. And every year changes just a little bit, and so we help folks balance their brackets through the years if they're approaching retirement. We help people bank their windfalls and save it for a rainy day and get some money and working for their investments in their retirement. And as a general rule, we just want our folks' net worths continuing to prosper.
So tell me about the energy bill. We've got a couple minutes here. What was that?
So the energy bill just expired, all of the car credits and all, the stuff that's not
electric cars.
Yeah,
and there was a big push, people trying to get that in that was having that interest because that was going away. So there's none of that going forward.
No, that's gone, and that's okay. That had its time, and now we move forward, and there'll be other things to take advantage of, and that's our job to make sure that those things that apply to you that you can take advantage of.
Now, for example, business owners, if buying like big trucks or equipment, there are some tax advantage, and that can be written off over a few year period.
So if you've got to replace your fleet, that's one of the things that we're doing this time of year is looking at fleets and looking at the age of fleets and whether you need to walk into a dealership and say, hey, I need to swap this out. And you do get an immediate write-off depending on the weight of the truck. It's based on GVW, which is gross vehicle weight. Anything over 6,000 pounds is more of an immediate deduction than after. And so...
Did that change on the new bill?
No, that's the same. It's always been, and it's a frame weight. It's based on the frame of the vehicle, so you can't put a winch on it or something like that to get a little heavier.
Or a real big heavy bumper on the front.
Right.
Hey, by the way, that's on the inside of the door of the vehicle. When you open the door where it tells you your tire pressures and stuff, the
GVW
is there as well. So whether it's a car or truck, that information's inside the door.
But as a general rule, we don't subscribe to get a new truck every couple of years just so you save taxes, because we know the trucks are more expensive than taxes. And so...
yeah, it's not quite a wash, is it?
So, we have those conversations. It's good to touch base with everybody as we fly into the end of the year, and that way they kind of know what they can change, what tax bill they're kind of looking at. We certainly pay the least we have to on January 15th, and then make up the difference on April the 15th to avoid penalty and interest.
Awesome. Well, we've got about 30 seconds left, so I'll kind of talk about what we're going to talk about on the next segment, and we're going to talk about the next tax year, right? You have something on your mind that you shared when you walked into the studio. Hey, I want to talk about the 2025 tax estimates. And I'd like to dig in because we're back end of October here.
60
this
days.
year's wrapping up. So we got to tidy up this year, and we got to look for efficiencies in 2026. So we want to start the year out right as well and not be behind the 8 ball. I don't like being behind the 8 ball. Hopefully you're enjoying listening to Winning at Life. I am your host, Gregory Ricks. We bring the show to you every Saturday. If you're looking for some help or guidance, like Jude's information, and we're going to get, when we come back, we'll get more how to reach him, but you can go to the website, gregoryricksandassociates.com, about our contributors, our firm, and how to get help. We are Winning at Life. We'll be right back.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
The program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And wherever else you can find podcasts, probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet? Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to gregoryricks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services. Offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC. And Gregory Ricks and Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, or you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
We are living in historic times, extraordinary times. A lot of people need help right now, and I want you to remember your local food bank. Now here in New Orleans, it's Second Harvest Food Bank. Over in Mobile, they've got Feeding the Gulf. But you can find your local food bank, feedingamerica.org. Food donations, monetary donations, or I know you've got some free time. Find your local food bank. Support your local food bank, especially in times like this. Do some good. feedingamerica.org.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Wish your life came with a warning app?
That dog does not want to be petted.
Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
News. I'm Paul Stevens. President Trump heading to a multi-nation tour of Asia, which includes a major meeting with big implications.
President Trump is expected to meet China's leader, Xi Jinping, and President Trump says he's looking forward to the meeting. Now, President Trump mentioning America's farmers, especially soybean farmers, after China has refused to purchase American soybeans as part of the ongoing trade war between China and the U.S.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. ICE agents still facing strong resistance from Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker as the White House says it's not backing down.
I want people to go to our social media sites, look at our press releases, and actually see who we're arresting. So when the governor says that we're not acting in accordance with law, we're working to do what Congress has enacted us to do. It's a federal law enforcement mission.
Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons on Fox. America's listening to Fox News.
Welcome back. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Thanks for joining the show today. Want to give a shout out to show sponsors, Dwayne Stein of mortgagegumbo.com, Jude Heath of J. Heath and Company CPAs, Wesley Blanchard of W.J. Blanchard Law, NewOrleans.mosquitojoe.com. You know, I don't like no mosquitoes. I don't like taxes, and I don't like mosquitoes. How about that? Spitali's Deli and Catering in Metairie. Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority, advisors and retirement strategies. And how about JJS Audio Video.com, 504-638-0906. Another new one out there, First South Farm Credit.com. Hey, you need to buy a bunch of land. Maybe you want you a farm. You might want to reach out to them. And of course, show wouldn't be possible without iHeartMedia as well. So we thank all of those that support and sponsor and contribute to the show to make that possible. And one of those sponsors is here in studio with me, Jude Heath of J. Heath Company CPAs. And you know, even on the break, we're talking about tax stuff and planning in the next year. So we got a lot to talk about here in the back half of this hour. And one of the things you walked in on your mind is, I want to talk about the 2025 tax estimates. It's a pretty big deal, and it really is good to get all your money paid in. And I think that date is by January 15th of
That's
26. Right. So you want to get your money in. If not, could hurt you, meaning cost you more money. I'm going to let you have the mic.
So we do this every year. We get with our current clients, find out their tax structure as it's happening for 2025. We obviously know what happened in 2024. The goal is to get you obviously paid in enough that you don't have any penalties or interest from not paying in enough during the year 2025. And, you know, increasingly our goal is also to bank a little bit. Gregory and I have talked about this for years, that, you know, you might, if you miss a K-1, if you miss a 1099, you get interest and penalties if you 2 years later, if you miss that 1099. And if you bank a little bit, if you leave a little bit of refund in there to roll over, it's kind of nice to not have to worry about that cleanup costing you something. You just adjust the refund carry forward. And so Gregory and I have talked for years about that's just a nice little soothing know that, hey, I know that if I missed a dot or whatever it is, that, you know, I'm covered. So again, we push all that. We get with our clients. We're doing calculations. Did you have any windfalls? Or is maybe 2025 a little bit shorter than 2024 was? And maybe we can reduce that January 15th payment. Maybe you don't need to pay as much in. All those conversations. And of course, it's good to check in with everybody on how their individual jobs and businesses are faring with all the different changes that we've had in the economy in the first part of the year. You know, I've got folks that have been definitely affected by the tariffs. I talked to an exporter 2 days ago. He built, y'all might remember with the Chinese Olympics, the big wooden bridge that they ran on. It stretched for miles. That was all Mississippi pine, and he exported that. And so by
the way, that's one of the largest producers. A state is one of the largest producers of timber in the country. Comes out of Mississippi, which our show is on in Mississippi.
Thank you, Gregory. And yeah, so anyway, he's an exporter, and I was just I hadn't talked to him about how the tariffs are affecting. He says, yeah, you know, the rest of the world is a blank show. You know, they all don't know what to do. America's kind of rocking and rolling, the spending's hanging in there, but the rest of the world just isn't really committing anything. It kind of, commerce just isn't really happening. And so his business has declined by a third. And so we noted it, and you will adjust the tax estimate that we had going for him forward. And he's out there, but, there's only so many sales calls you can make if folks are not buying right now.
One of the things, I was having a review with a firm that helps on our analytics and stuff that we actually had hired earlier this year to make sure of all our metrics online and looking at data. So it's kind of, when I maybe was a small company, I didn't need that as for, well, I'm a larger company now, but it was good to see that actually what we had been doing and how we had been tracking, we were in line with where we should be. And one of the conversations was about the taxes, and they had brought up the quarterly estimates and so forth. And I was like, yeah, but I pay mine every month because I told them, I said, I don't like somebody else's money on my balance sheet. If it's not my money, I want it out. If I owe you money, I want it out, or I know how that's getting paid along the way. So that's not quite like I owe a mortgage payments or something, and that's got to go out every month of the year. I don't look at the same, but when I owe Uncle Sam, I don't need a quarter's worth of money piling up there that misleads me, because I love my cash report, kind of seeing where do we stand. And I don't like tax more than 30 days worth of tax money setting in there. And that keeps on track. And then the other estimate is you should be running calculations if you're a business, and even an individual as an employee, you should make sure your withholding is adjusted for your income there. And you might want to talk more about that, but you want to make sure that you are running calculations, and especially if your income is growing, you're in a growing phase, that you're making adjustments so that you don't owe money on the back end. And I love the carry forward is like, okay, I'm expecting to have paid in more than I'm going to owe. You taught me that a long time ago, so I like that, and that carries forward to next year. I will say on the state side, I wish they would do that on the state side, but if you paid in more to the state, you know what they do? They just kick it back to you.
So I'm immediately thinking about this client. She's an environmental engineer in Houston, and she's fortunate enough that she has a great job, but she also does a little bit of moonlighting on the side at night, and so contracts and whatnot. And we got to her return at the she submitted last minute, and she didn't have much withholding on her W-2, and it was a significant W-2. And she had the LLC with and she's got some other things going on, a bee farm and whatever it is, and so she owes a lot, and she's like, well, October the 15th, the night of October the 15th, I'm not going to sign. I'm like, well, you should know it's a 5%, failure to file payment penalty every month, up to 25%. That's a big number for you. We can always amend. Well, no, clean it up first. So we're trying to have a Zoom. We missed a couple Zooms this week, and I know she's busy. But the point is that I'm very concerned about her penalties accruing right now. And I saw from looking at her taxes that the primary reason why she owed so much was because her withholding on her W-4 was not enough. Matter of fact, it was almost nothing. And so we need to fix that. We need to fix that for 2025. That's my immediacy with her is there's only so much we can do for 2024. We'll look at it again. We'll keep looking. Make sure we got the cleanest filing for you so that you pay the least that you can. But, man, we got to get that W-4 fixed for 2025 and now 2026 because it's not getting any better. It could be a slow-moving train wreck.
Any other tips along those lines?
So what I like clients that check in around the quarterlies. My real estate agents are great with that. Hey, we expected real estate to be in the tank this year. Guess what? It wasn't. Lakeview is booming, or whatever the latest neighborhood is that's booming. And so they get me their numbers, and we run the estimates, and they get payments in 9/15, January 15, April the 15th, June the 15th, all the different quarterly dates. I'd like that they check that they know that they owe taxes with those extra commissions that they got, and they're just checking in. And again, we're having conversations about the direction. You might know there was a big upheaval at the Supreme Court with the real estate agents a couple of years ago, where basically now you've got to come with a deposit to be able to write an offer to pay your side of the commission. And so
that's interesting. I didn't know that technically.
Right. Like if you can't just call an agent out of the blue, and some of them will work with you, but some of them won't. Some of them are
and you're meaning the buyer side.
The buyer side of the 6% or
so
whatever it is.
You kind of got to be able to. You got to put that up front, or
some of the agents that aren't going to run you around town showing you 50 properties are saying, hey, if you want to put something in, bring a check for your side. You want to put an offer in, bring a check. And so I think from that perspective, that Supreme Court decision kind of helped move that industry along. They've had to change a little bit, but they're the really successful agents are just as successful, if not more. And so anyway,
that's good news.
Yeah, it's only going to get better, with the rates level down or whatever. I mean, I listen to Dwayne too, and so we're all kind of sitting on edge because we know that a lot of folks are waiting to move, right? We know that people are the starter homes are ready to go, the next level up ready to go, and then either the retirement homes or the family homes. Those people are on edge too. They're ready to move. Everybody's kind of ready, and so we expect that to sort of open up. It might be a little bit overwhelming for the real estate industry when it finally does, but that'll be nice to see.
Yeah, that's kind of a 2026 forecast, is to kind of see more movement on real estate and financing. And with Dwayne today, we had talked about refinances as well, with interest rates moving down, and that's kind of this isn't constrained to this moment in time. We think over the next couple years, we see interest rates move down some. We're not talking about getting back to a 1% world, but I think if we could get it down 1% or 2% from where it's at, that's going to be awesome.
Well, and they need to do something, even if it's first-time home buyer or whatever, because there is a generation that has grown up with 0% interest, or almost 0%, and so for them, a 9% mortgage rate. For you and I, a 9% mortgage rate, we kind of been there, done that.
Yeah.
But there's a segment, say 30 years old and below, that they see a 9% interest rate. Oh, it's not the time to buy. Well, that's not true, because real estate is continuing to increase in price.
Okay, so finishing up this year, we're making sure we're getting enough paid in to Uncle Sam, and maybe a little extras in good measure to carry forward. You have till January 15th to shore that up.
And it's a great time to talk to my clients about how the One Big Beautiful Bill affects them, because everybody wants to know that. Everybody's reading online. They got their phone in their hand, or they got their newsletters or papers or whatever, and they just want to know, well, what am I looking like for 2026? Most folks want to plan ahead.
Well, that leads us into 2026 here for the last part of your time with us today on Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. I was just thinking, one of the changes for 2026 has been clarified, and that's on your 401k catch-up contributions, IRA catch-up contributions. And those are going to be taxed now. It's not going to be put away pre-tax. It's going to go after tax into a Roth.
Okay, I'm glad you clarified that. So that is actually a great thing. And
it is, but it's an adjustment.
I have
people.
heard a lot of, despair about that. And I understand that it costs tax money, but what you opened the first segment with about the 7.2, it grows at 7.2%, and it takes 10 years to double. I'll tell you, my wife and I, like you and your wife, we read some of this stuff, and of course we're in the business, we're in the same exact business, and we just look at each other and smirk. And this whole thing came out a few years ago, and they just didn't have the systems in place to make it so, and that's why it took a little while for the IRS to make it so. And the industry just kept pushing the envelope, saying we don't have the systems. Well, of course, with 2026 now, they have the systems, and my wife and I looked at each other and we're like, if they're trying to, prevent what they call, the higher income folks from gaining more, that does the exact opposite. It gives them a Roth contribution. And so my workers that, my folks that are still contributing as clients, they're all, they chime in, and I can't believe I'm having to pay tax on this. And I say, rephrase that. You can't believe that they opened up a Roth for you, and your after age contribution catch up allows you to contribute to a Roth, because a lot of these firms did not have a Roth 401k prior to that. And so I would always tell them, do a Roth. And they were like, well, all I can really do is a back door. And, that's not enough or whatever. And so now it's wide open. And so you can do the, as you said in the first segment, the 30 to get 100. You can do it all and have everything that we talked about, still staying at your job and still staying at your 401k. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's going to turn out to be a windfall, a big tax savings. Maybe not for you right now, but you and I just ran through the numbers, paying under $30,000 on a $1.6 million windfall to your children, and that's just easy numbers. Just as you said, round up the numbers to make it basic math. You could easily do that while you're in your last 3 years at your job. So I love it. I think it's terrific. I'm not going to listen to anybody saying that, it's a terrible thing. I think you got to make the most out of the tax code that you're presented with.
Yeah, catch-up contribution, and this is for those age 50 and up, and there's actually a special super catch-up for ages 60 to 63 as well. So you can put more. Yeah, I'm sorry, some of you are like, oh my God, I'm going to be 50. Well, 50 is a great thing because now you can put more into the 401k. And even if you were over income limits for Roth or just not wanting to pay that tax, you're going to be putting it into a Roth is the requirement, because Uncle Sam wants that tax. They don't want you putting it away pre-tax. They want the tax now. They're greedy. And that's your benefit that they are, because now you get to put away money and you're forced to build tax-free money. You're not growing money for Uncle Sam. You're growing it for you and your household going forward, because he doesn't get a piece of it in the future. Roth money does not become taxed later. What other thing? We've got a few minutes left. So that's a great topic on the catch-up contributions. What are some of the other things they should start thinking about next year?
So one of the things we noticed with the first round of the Big Beautiful Bill back in 2017, which is the higher standard deductions and doing away with personal exemptions, is that and the 0% interest rates, or smaller interest rates, a lot of people just weren't itemizing. And so if they weren't itemizing, it didn't always make sense financially to increase their charitable giving to save on taxes. And so we kind of gotten away from, if you have a windfall this year, make sure to write a check to your favorite charity to save the taxes on that. But now we have an above the line charitable contribution. It's not, it's a measured amount, But nonetheless, in 2026 it starts, and so for those folks that are not itemizing anymore, and there are a lot of them, you get to choose your favorite charity again and give the above the line limit. And so that's a kind of nice thing to plan for. It's, I'm kind of like you. It always feels good to help a charity.
Are you speaking about qualified charitable distributions or just to other? Because in the past we've kind of had to look at it from a bunching standpoint. Is that what we're still talking about?
Right. So the bunching was because a lot of people weren't itemizing. This is an alternative to that, presuming those people still aren't itemizing, and it's now there's a small amount of a above the line. So you claim, you might remember in the tax code they had that a few years ago. I think it was right after COVID or something like that. They did an above the line, meaning you didn't have to itemize to take this charitable contribution. You do it above the AGI line. And so that's a nice thing to offer to taxpayers, and it helps a lot of charities and does societal good.
Yeah, so plan for charitable giving, but also in addition to that, you can plan to donate appreciated stock. You can use donor advised funds. And what I brought up that I was just making sure you weren't talking about, or might have been, it is the qualified charitable distribution. You can kind of look at it as above the line, but it doesn't go on the return whatsoever. It doesn't get into the mix. So, and you don't have to be of RMD age. At age 70 and a half, you could start making just charitable distributions like that as well. And of course, when you reach RMD age, you could donate those distributions or a portion of them, and they not go on your 1040 as well.
Right. And so when we get into those conversations with pre-RMD age, a lot of times we're presenting that, okay, yes, you can do, qualified charitable contribution out of your qualified money, but also you could, choose to convert over Roth a little bit extra and, keep it and give it to them later after it's grown. So it's a kind of an either or.
Yeah. I like that. Give them an alternative. And one of is that Roth to go tax-free money for the future. And you might even need it yourself down the road. And assuming, and you could, in one essence, we are talking about things that impact high net worth people, meaning they have quite a bit of retirement savings. But even those that don't, there's tax efficiencies there and consideration of that. And one reason you should consider Roth conversions and even small bites. I kind of talk the big numbers where we do a hypothetical I always like to give because the math is easy, 100,000 over 3 years. But let's say half or quarter of that, all that's impacted going forward. Even if you were to do 5,000 to 10,000 a year, smaller bites, you don't have to take a big bite, smaller bites, and do it over a few years. And especially if you're watching your tax bracket margin, if you've got room for 5,000 in your margin before going next tax bracket, don't waste that. And you are looking at those opportunities. I am doing so as well. We've got about somewhere a minute here left in this segment here. Any other quick tips or reach out to you at certain times to get started a conversation?
Sure. So this is actually a great time of the year for us to get to know you, because if maybe you did your own taxes, you got behind, you didn't have things where you wanted them to be, we can help. We can show you some ways, point you in the right direction, keep up with you. We can even check in with you in February, March and see how you're coming along with gathering all your documents. We just had a lady from the show. She just had a second home in New Orleans. She was just moving from Atlanta to Texas, and she sold the second home in New Orleans, and we have to calculate the gain on that for a January 15th payment. And she's just like, hey, can you send me something in January that can help me with my taxes? And we did that. There's the bumper music. It's jheathcpa.com, and it's 504-832-1873, or call Gregory's office. They know how to get me.
Awesome. That's what I was going to do. How can they reach you? If you were looking to reach me, go to gregoryricksandassociates.com. The office number is 504-832-9200. No matter what office you want to reach out to, we'll be right back with more Winning at Life. This is Gregory Ricks.
News Talk 99.5 WRNO FM, New Orleans, comes from the Mortgage Gumbo Studios.
Your locally trusted home loan lender, MortgageGumbo.com.
Meeting. I'm Paul Stevens, Fox News. President Trump heading to Asia for an eventual meeting with China's president, Fox's Lucas Tomlinson, in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
The big visit is actually not happening here in Malaysia. That will be in South Korea, when President Trump is expected to meet China's leader, Xi Jinping, and President Trump says he's looking forward to the meeting.
We want to take care of our farmers.
Now, President Trump mentioning America's